Sure. Thanks, Gail, again, and welcome everyone to the Advanced Zoning for ANC's training. My name is Kira, and I'm a zoning specialist. I specifically support the Board of Zoning Adjustment, and with me, as Gail mentioned, is Sharon Shellen, the Secretary to the Zoning Commission, who will cover most of the information relating to the Zoning Commission. You can go to the next slide. Thanks. So if you're able to attend that zoning basics training last week, I hope it was a helpful introduction and overview to the structure of DC zoning regulations, including information on the different zones throughout the city, development standards, who the participants are in the zoning process. And today's training will go a little bit more in depth on the procedures and how ANCs can participate in the zoning process. So this is kind of what we'll go over today: reviewing applications, drafting ANC reports, filing a petition to the Zoning Commission, filing an appeal to the BZA, filing motions, responding to modifications and time extensions, and then just some virtual hearing reminders, as well as important links. And we may have time to do a quick little demo and tour of looking at case records towards the end of the presentation. Next slide. You can go to the next slide, Sharon. Okay, so just a brief refresher on sort of reviewing applications. You can go to the next slide. Sharon, are you able to go to the next slide, or are you having some issues? Can you hear me, Sharon?
She is muted. I'm going to try to unmute her. Kira, there she is.
Okay.
She's unmuted. Sharon, can you hear us? Can't hear her.
This is the interpreter. May I ask a question?
I'm sorry, Wendy. Go for it.
Good morning. I wasn't sure if the
Good
meeting
morning.
had started yet, or because I popped in a few minutes late.
Yep. So we did start. We got to the second slide. We're having a little technical difficult. Here we go. Now we're moving on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Again, just a quick refresher of some of the general case types that the Board of Zoning Adjustment and Zoning Commission considers. So in rulemaking cases, ANCs provide input. So for the Zoning Commission, this includes text amendments to the zoning regulations, as well as some map amendments. For the Board of Zoning Adjustment, chancery applications are considered rulemaking cases, so projects involving embassies or chanceries under the Foreign Missions Act. In contested cases, affected ANCs are automatic parties to the case, and as a reminder, as a party, ANCs can submit. Sorry, Sharon, can you go back just for a second? Um, just to finish that line of thought up, ANCs can submit an official report, file motions, fully participate in the public hearing, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And again, contested cases include requests for zoning relief, such as special exceptions or variances, PUDs, campus plans, design review, as well as some amendments to the zoning map. So in terms of notice of a case, and this would be when ANCs are notified about a new zoning application and a public hearing, the BZA and Zoning Commission must meet the notice requirements of the ANC Act as well as the zoning regulations. And this includes things such as the timing as well as the type of notice that is sent. Notice sent by our office, the Office of Zoning, will come to your official email account, and both the ANC's general email account as well as the SMD for the area where the project is located will receive emails. And then you may receive several forms of notice at different stages of the application. And I'll talk about those on the next slide. You can go to the next slide, Sharon.
Kira, we may want to switch presenter slides. I don't know if you have a copy of them.
Yeah, let me try and get a hold of Sharon separately. She might be, maybe there's like a delay or some issue with her computer. Just give us 1 second.
Even know if she can hear us. So I'll just take this time to introduce that we do have our ALS interpreter. And thanks, Wendy, for joining us today. What you'll need to do is if you need interpreter services is just to toggle over her picture with your cursor. There'll be 3 dots in the corner. It'll say more options. When you click into it, you just say pin to stage. And as you see, she's at the top of your screen and will remain there. And Kira, if you talk to Sharon, she may want to go out and come back in after you get the presentation switched over, if you can.
Gotcha. I think Sharon's on her phone, if you're able to unmute her.
Let's see. She is unmuted on my end. I don't have her muted at all.
Do you want to, let me see, it'd be call-in user in the attendee list with the number that starts 540220.
I think the panelist call-in it might be another number. Hold on.
Yeah, she's in the attendee list. So I think if you're able to, as the host, just unmute that number.
Sure.
Sorry, guys, I don't know what happened. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Yes.
Okay. So do I need to go forward or backward, Kira?
Just the next slide would be great.
Okay, sorry.
No worries. Okay, so sorry for that. So we're back to notice. These are the different types of notice that you might see as an ANC. So notice of intent, this is specifically with zoning commission cases. Applicants mail a notice of intent to the affected ANC and to all owners within 200 feet of the property, at least 45 days prior to actually filing the application. And applicants are encouraged to make good faith efforts to meet with ANCs during that time period. And for notice of the application, for both zoning commission and BZA cases, applicants must serve a copy of their application and all required documents, plans, etc., on the affected ANC at the time of filing with the Office of Zoning. And then the notice of public hearing, this is when the Office of Zoning provides notice of public hearings on contested cases to the affected ANC and property owners within 200 feet of the subject property. Again, the regulations specify when notice of a hearing must be sent out. For most contested cases for both BZA and the Zoning Commission, public notice must be given at least 40 days in advance of the hearing. And as mentioned previously, ANCs will receive this notice via email. However, property owners within 200 feet will receive a hard copy notice sent via US Postal Service. Office of Zoning also publishes notice of public hearings in the DC Register as well as the calendar on our website, the official OZ calendar. And then notice is also posted on the property before a public hearing. So you may have seen the orange or green signs for projects in your community. And then one thing to note about notice in cases that have a postponed hearing date, those are typically not re-noticed to nearby property owners unless there are significant changes to the project or additional relief being added. However, ANCs and any other parties will receive correspondence from the Office of Zoning regarding the rescheduled date, and it will be updated in the online case record. Next slide, please. So as mentioned last week, you can look up any case using the search function. You can also search by your ANC or the subtitle section of relief that a project has. We might do, like I mentioned earlier, we might do a quick tour and demo of looking up case records towards the end of the presentation to show you guys what that looks like. Next slide. Okay, I'll turn it over to Sharon.
Okay, so now we're going to go into drafting ANC reports. So pursuant to subtitle Y, section 406.2 and subtitle Z, section 406.2, the BZA and Zoning Commission shall give great weight to the issues and concerns contained in the written report of the affected ANC. And it's important to list the issues and concerns. If you just submit a report that says your ANC supports or opposes the project, that's not necessarily given, well, it isn't given great weight. There was case law that says, and I think that's coming up in a later slide, that says that the board and the commission must give great weight to the issues and concerns. So we have created a Form 129 to help the ANC. Some ANCs are more active than others. So we created this form to help those that maybe don't deal with zoning on a regular basis. There are some that do deal with zoning regularly. And this form pretty much lists everything that you need to put in pursuant to the regulations, the case name and number. And the same thing, if you decide to do your own resolution, you need to include the case name, the case number, the date of the meeting held by the ANC in which you took the case up, a statement that the proper notice was given to the public, of the public meeting that was given by the ANC, number of members of your ANC that constitutes a quorum, and the number of members that were present, and the issues and concerns of the ANC about the application as related to the standards against which the application will be judged. And if there's not enough room here, because we know there's sometimes not, you can say see attached, and the outcome of the vote on the motion to adopt the report, or a lot of the ANCs refer to it the ANC resolution. So what was the vote? And then, of course, it has to be signed by the chairperson or the ANC vice chairman or chairperson. So this is what I was referring to earlier. The DC Court of Appeals decision in the Metropole Condominium Association versus the DC Board of Zoning Adjustment, that's where the issues and concerns being given great weight came out of. It stated, as for the recommendation of the ANC supporting the application, we note that case law does not require the BZA to give great weight to the ANC's recommendation, but it does require the BZA to give great weight to any issues and concerns raised by the ANC in reaching its decision. So the recommendation of the commission or the board approving a case or denying a case is not good enough. It has to give great weight to the ANC's issues and concerns. If the ANC has issues and concerns regarding parking, and they put that in their resolution, then the board or commission needs to give great weight to that. They need to address that in their order. So the great weight requirement extends only to the issues and concerns that are legally relevant. So what is the issue or concern? Is it within the BZA or Zoning Commission's jurisdiction? Is it related to the zoning relief requested? So those are the three questions to ask, for the ANC to ask itself when it's looking at the issues and concerns. Obviously, if you pick up, if you're thinking about, I'm trying to think off the top of my head something, you know, we don't have any control over something another agency is in charge of, like HPRB is in charge of the historic preservation of properties. DDOT is in charge of the curb cuts. We do consider traffic, but we don't have the control over where the curb cuts are placed. Now, when we're looking at the project, obviously they put that on the plans. However, in the end, it's ultimately up to DDOT whether they will approve those or not. And if they bring in plans and the commission or the board approves it, and then they go to DDOT, I believe it's Public Space that approves the curb cuts. If they end up saying, no, we're not going to do it, then they have to come back to the board or commission to get a revision on that, a modification. So weighing in at set down, the set down is a process by which the zoning commission determines whether a case is ready for public hearing. So prior to the 2016, the ZR16 regulations, only the Office of Planning could weigh in on this determination. But then when we went through ZR16, we decided to allow the ANCs to submit what we call a set-down form. It's Form 130, and this allows the ANCs to provide their input on this decision. If the ANC decides not to weigh in, the ANC decides to weigh in, the ANC set-down form must be filed in the record no later than 30 days after the date the application or petition is referred to the ANC. I will make a note, we have a case coming up, case number 22-25. We are recommending that that be changed to 40 days. We have heard from some ANCs that 30 days is not enough time for them, and we're recommending that that be changed to 40 days to accommodate the ANC schedule. I want to make it clear that this report, this set down, and it needs to be on the set down form. This is not the opportunity for the ANC to submit their resolution with their issues and concerns. This form is not given great weight. This is simply an opportunity for the ANC to advise whether they think the case is ready to move forward with a hearing. I think I have one more slide about that, yes. So this is not the time to discuss the merits of a case. It is just to determine whether the case is generally ready for a public hearing to be scheduled. And like a map amendment case, the ANC should weigh in whether they think it should be a rulemaking or a contested case. There are times that it doesn't happen very often, but there are times that an applicant, or I should say petitioner, will say, submit a petition saying that they think that this map amendment should be a petition, meaning a rulemaking. And looking at it, it could probably go either way. And as you learned in the basic ANC training, rulemaking cases do not allow for parties. And so that's one difference in a rulemaking and a contested case. So the ANC may look at this and say, wait a minute, this map amendment only benefits this one owner. This clearly does not meet the guidelines, the requirements for a petition. This case should be a contested case. And so that is something that the ANC would put on their step down form. They might say, you know, we have no problem with this case going forward for a hearing. However, we think this should be a contested case and not a rulemaking case for these reasons. It only benefits this one owner. It is owned by this person. It is only for their benefit, and therefore it does not meet the guidelines of the regulations for a rulemaking case. So figuring out whether it's appropriate for set down, some of the things that you would state would be the petition is ready for a hearing but should be set down as a contested case because, yes, that's something you would weigh in at set down. The benefits and amenities proposed by the applicant in this PUD are insufficient for the following reasons. No, that is not something you would put on your set down form because this is not the time for you to do that. That would come when you do your official resolution before the hearing. The plans included in the application are unclear and additional information is needed. That's appropriate for set down. And so those are just two examples of things that are appropriate at the time you weigh in at set down. Proposing conditions. Am I past my
I think this
pages,
was
Kira?
this one is on BZA, so I'll do the next couple slides.
Yeah, I was
Um,
going to say, I don't see page numbers, so I'm a little bit off on these. So
No
go ahead.
worries. So for BZA applications, the ANC may propose conditions for the board to adopt as part of its order. And these are conditions that would be part of the board's approval and would be enforceable by the zoning administrator with the Department of Buildings. One thing to note that if the ANC report makes it clear that its support is contingent upon the adoption of certain conditions and the board does not adopt those conditions, the ANC will be considered opposed to the application. Now, an ANC can request an applicant agree to certain conditions separate from the BZA process, which does happen sometimes with ANCs. Those conditions just, again, wouldn't be part of the order if they're not adopted by the board. So some things to keep in mind when proposing conditions for BZA applications. So any conditions should be, one, related to the actual zoning issues. So a common condition that ANCs propose is mitigating construction impacts. Construction is not an issue that's outlined in the zoning regulations, so therefore it's not within the board's purview, and any conditions relating to construction typically cannot be adopted. Again, an ANC can have a separate agreement with an applicant. A construction management agreement is still a great way to address any potential issues during construction, but it's not related to the zoning process and would not be part of the final approval order from the board. Conditions should also be related to the zoning relief requested. The intent of any proposed conditions should be to mitigate any potential impacts that may arise from the project being granted that specific relief. So, for example, if an applicant wants to operate a restaurant use in a penthouse, proposing a condition that relates to the landscaping on the ground floor would not be related to the relief requested. However, proposing a condition stating that there should be no amplified music on the roof after 10 p.m. could be considered by the board. And then lastly, conditions should be clear and specific enough to be enforceable by the zoning administrator. So as a really general example, but we do sometimes see this, is proposing a condition that says something like the applicant shall work with the community on any issues that arise. That's really just too broad of a condition for the zoning administrator to enforce. And so for this example, it should really be specific about who should the applicant be meeting with, how often, what are the issues. So that's just another really important aspect when proposing conditions for a BZA application. Next slide. So here's a more specific example of conditions that may or may not be adopted. So if there's an application requesting special exception relief from the parking and loading requirements to construct a new 8-unit apartment building in the RA2 zone, what conditions are most likely to be adopted? This first one, the applicant shall not apply for an after-hours construction permit. As mentioned earlier, this is not likely to be adopted since, again, construction is not within the board's purview. The applicant shall provide a SmartChip card and Capital Bike Share free ride coupon to each new resident. This one would be considered by the board since it's more specific and intended to mitigate any impacts from the parking relief that's being requested. The next one, the applicant shall work with the ANC to resolve any issues with on-street truck parking. This probably, would not be adopted, worded exactly like this, since it's really too general of a condition to be enforced, similar to what I mentioned on the previous slide. And then lastly, the applicant shall designate a loading coordinator for the building who shall be responsible for scheduling all resident move-ins and move-outs. And yes, this one would be more likely to be adopted since, similar to the second condition, it's clear and specific or directly related to the relief being requested. And again, just to note, applicants, as I mentioned earlier, and ANCs can agree to conditions separately from the BZA process.
And we say that loosely because we are aware that there was an opinion from the Attorney General's office recently that kind of questions that. So we don't want to say too much on that about any kind of agreement that the ANCs may enter into. That's probably more of a question for Gail and Kent to answer about that. I'm sure they're aware of that letter. So proposing conditions in a PUD, the benefits and amenities. Conditions in a PUD order are not limited to mitigation. They include conditions that finalize the negotiations between the applicant and the ANC as to public benefits and amenities that are proffered. And public benefit categories can be found in Subtitle X, Section 305. And they include categories such as affordable housing, employment and training opportunities, mass transit improvement, superior urban design and architecture, environmental and sustainable benefits. A lot of times we'll find in PUDs that the applicant will offer employment and training opportunities within the project itself. Sometimes it's during the construction phase. Sometimes maybe if they're building, say, a hotel, they will put a condition in that they will employ a certain percentage of that ward's or employees from that ward. They proffer a certain amount of affordable housing above and beyond what is required, the 8% that's required by law. And the superior urban design and architecture that's required for PUDs, it has to be something above and beyond what would be built as a matter of right. And as far as the environmental and sustainable benefits, they, try to get something better than what would be offered as a matter of right. Subtitle X, Section 305.3 states that all public benefits shall meet the following criteria. It has to be tangible and quantifiable items. They must be able to be completed or arranged prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy, may primarily benefit a particular neighborhood or area of the city, monetary contributions are only permitted if made to a District of Columbia government program, or no C of O may be issued unless the applicant provides proof to the zoning administrator that the items or services funded have been or are being provided. And the reason for this is that years ago, when it used to, you would find, for those that have been around for a while, that applicants would say things like, we're going to make a $10,000 contribution to a school, or $10,000 to a certain organization. And the feedback we were getting was that what it was supposed to be used for never happened, and there was never any accountability for what that money was ever used for. And so based on the feedback and the negativity we were hearing from the public, this was put in there that we didn't want the money to just be given. We wanted proof that whatever the contributions were for was actually being done. If you were given $10,000 to a school and the purpose was to buy computers for their tech room, then we preferred that you actually buy those computers, show the receipt for them, and do it that way. Purchase the computers yourself and give the computers, rather than giving the $10,000. Or if the $10,000 was given, we wanted to see the proof that they were actually purchased. So that's why that was put in there, was because of what the feedback we were getting from the public. And again, that subtitle X section says the majority of the public benefits of the PUD should relate to the geographic area of the ANC in which the application is proposed.
So in terms of actually filing an ANC report, you're creating an account in ISIS to upload PDFs is really the fastest way to file submissions to the record. So if you haven't created an account or need technical assistance with setting one up, you can always call our office and we can help you out. If you do have technical issues with ISIS and uploading a document for whatever reason, you can also email ANC reports to be uploaded into the record, and we've included the specific email addresses below that you would email, and you'd want to make sure you're sending it to the right email so we know if a submission is for a BZA case or a zoning commission case. So that'd be BZA submissions at dc.gov or ZC submissions at dc.gov. And then one important thing to note is that to ensure documents are entered into the record in a timely manner, electronic submissions must be filed through ISIS or sent to the email accounts listed above. Emailing them to specific Office of Zoning staff members does not always guarantee that they'll be entered into the record or entered into the record in a timely manner. Next slide. So a few other details on filing ANC reports. They should obviously be filed before the case is decided. This might be obvious, but we have received many reports after, at least for BZA, after a case has been decided and the record is closed. So in order to make sure an ANC receives great weight in the board or zoning commission's decision, it's best to submit the report as soon as possible before the hearing. And then if the ANC wishes to participate and give testimony at the hearing, ANC reports are due at least 7 days before the hearing. This deadline can be waived, but we encourage ANCs not to wait until the day before to submit their report if possible. And then if the ANC does plan on participating in the hearing, the report must designate a representative who is authorized to testify on behalf of the ANC. And this can be the individual SMD commissioner who's authorized or the chair, but that person just needs to be specified in the report. And then one last aside, aside from giving great weight for the regulations, the BZA and Zoning Commission really want to know that the ANC was at least aware of the project or has it on their radar if there's no report in the record yet. So this isn't necessarily specified in the regulations, but we really encourage ANCs, and this is specifically from the BZA perspective, but we really encourage ANCs to let the board know if the ANC does not plan on submitting a report prior to the public hearing, either just via an email, they decided to not put it on their agenda, or, letting them know the ANC is aware of the project and has heard feedback from the community, but hasn't voted on it yet. This communication is really helpful. So the board or zoning commission aren't wondering, did the ANC know about this? Should we move forward? Should we postpone? Because that ANC report and recommendation and those issues are really taken into consideration. So this just helps provide more clarity regarding outreach and community involvement during the application process.
So filing cases, BZA appeals, and zoning commission rulemaking petitions. Filing petitions to the zoning commission. The ANC may file a petition for a text or a map amendment to the zoning commission, and all of our petitions are filed electronically. And if the ANC does not have access to a computer, we do have one in our office. If you come into the office, we have someone who will assist you with uploading your application or your petition rather. And the requirements for filing a map and text amendment are located in Subtitle Z, Sections 304 and 305. They let you know what you need to have when filing either one of those. So once you submit the application or the petition, the zoning commission staff will consider the, we will prepare everything, process it, we refer it to OP. Then the zoning commission will consider the petition once OP files a set down report. And if set down, then the zoning commission will hold a hearing. And once that hearing is held and proposed action is taken, then a notice of proposed rulemaking will get published in the DC Register for a 30-day public comment period. And after reviewing any comments, the zoning commission can then proceed with final action. Filing appeals to the BZA, an ANC can challenge a decision made by an administrative officer or body in the administration or enforcement of the zoning regulations. Did the zoning administrator or other zoning official err in interpreting or applying the zoning regulations? If you think they have, then you can file an appeal to the BZA. Kira?
Sure. So some more details in terms of the filing requirements for an appeal to the BZA. Some key elements to keep in mind. Again, what decision is being appealed? For example, many appeals that we see are often appealing the zoning administrator's decision to issue a building permit. Is the appeal timely? And I'll go over this briefly below. And then what are the zoning issues on the appeal? So similar to what was mentioned earlier during the BZA conditions section, an appeal needs to focus on the zoning issues and the error that was made in regards to applying the zoning regulations. So not things like construction that aren't within the board's purview. And then as Sharon mentioned with petitions, they must be filed through ISIS, or you can come into our office and our staff will assist in filing an appeal application. In regards to timeliness, so per the zoning regulations in subtitle Y 302, the appeal must be filed within 60 days from the date the person or ANC filing the appeal either had knowledge of the decision, notice or knowledge of the decision at issue, or reasonably should have had notice or knowledge of the decision, whichever is earlier. So if you were made aware of a project 6 months ago when the building permit was posted on the property and you decide to file an appeal now, that would not be timely and the appeal could be dismissed by the board. However, the 60-day deadline can be waived by the board if there are exceptional circumstances, and waiving the deadline would not prejudice the parties to the appeal. Okay, so on the next couple slides, I'll just outline the general procedures and requirements regarding filing motions for the regulations. So next slide. So a motion is a request by a party for the board or zoning commission to take an action. Some examples of motions include a motion to postpone, which I'll talk more about on the next slide, a motion to waive a filing deadline, or a motion to reopen the record after the record's been closed. Unless it is made verbally during a hearing, all motions shall be in writing and signed by the ANC chair or vice chair. And we encourage parties, including ANCs, to use the Form 150 for motions. And this is on our website, and it ensures that all the required elements of filing a motion are filled out, similar to the ANC report form. At the time of filing any motion, a party must serve all other parties. And this is a really critical piece to ensuring the motion can be considered by the board or zoning commission, since the other parties in the case need to be made aware of the motion and have the opportunity to respond. And then if parties are opposed to a motion, they have 7 days to file and serve a response back.
I apologize. This is Wendy, the interpreter. I'm trying to get the attention of the other interpreter to switch out. I don't think she can see me. I apologize. We're good now.
Okay. I wanted to just go over the steps of filing a particular motion that's quite popular, especially with the BZA, and that would be a motion to postpone a public hearing. So again, the motion must be in writing. It should include reasons for the motion and a signature by the ANC chair or vice chair, or if it's an email, it should come from one of those officers. A letter from an individual SMD commissioner will not suffice. And then in regards to the reasons for postponement, it's helpful to be specific. You know, does the applicant need to provide more information? Is there a scheduling conflict? Essentially, you know, why isn't the ANC able to provide an official report prior to the public hearing? And then you would submit the motion to the case record, similar to filing an ANC report, either uploading through ISIS or emailing it to BZA submissions at dc.gov or ZC submissions at dc.gov. And then, of course, send the motion to all other parties. Parties are allowed 7 days to respond unless the zoning commission or BZA chair decides otherwise. And then if the motion to postpone was filed more than 7 days before the hearing, the chair may administratively decide the motion or defer to the full board or zoning commission at the hearing. So two other motions are requests for reconsideration and or rehearing, which may be filed only after the final order in a case has been issued. So per subtitle Y, section 700 or subtitle Z 700, a motion for reconsideration or rehearing of a final order in a contested case may be filed by a party within 10 days of the order's issuance in BZA cases, or within 10 days of publication in the DC Register for zoning commission cases. And as with all other motions, the motion must be served on all other parties. In terms of a motion for reconsideration, it should address how is the final order erroneous? What are the errors in the actual order in terms of the findings of fact or conclusions of law? And then the motion for rehearing should include, you know, what is the newly discovered evidence that was not available during the original hearing? And it must include the reason why this newly discovered evidence could not have been reasonably presented prior to the issuance of the final order. So again, these are two motions that would be filed in the time period after the final order has been issued to the parties.
Okay. So responding to modifications and time extensions, this of course would come after a case has already been approved. So modifications, after the final order is issued, an applicant can request a minor modification that would be without a hearing, a modification of consequence is without a hearing, and a modification of significance. That would require a hearing. And these can be found in Subtitle Y, 703 and 704, and Subtitle Z, Section 703 and 704. Now, modifications do not allow the BZA or the Zoning Commission to revisit the entire case. They are only going to consider what is being added or modified. So when a modification is filed, say to make a small change to maybe the hours of operation of, say, a gym that's part of the PUD. Maybe they have a gym that was limited in hours and they want to change the hours by 1 hour to open an hour earlier. That would be the only modification that is considered. They are not going to open up the case and revisit everything else that was, or anything else that was previously approved. Time extensions. So after the final order is issued in the original case, the applicant can come back and ask for an extension of the validity of the order, and that can be found in sections Y and, subtitles Y and Z, section 705. Again, time extensions do not allow the Zoning Commission, BZA, to revisit the decision in the case, but only to decide whether there is good cause to extend the validity of the order. That's the only thing they are doing, is extending the time and whether there is good cause to do so. Now, the ANC responses, they should be, the ANC or affected ANCs will be served with any request, whether it's a modification or a time extension by the applicant, and the ANC can provide input on the ANC report form and file it in the record. They need to make sure that if they have any issues and concerns that are relevant to the actual request, and for modifications that require a public hearing, the affected ANC may participate as a party, just like they would with any other contested case. And for Zoning Commission, the modification of significance is set down, so a set down form would be in place also. So virtual hearing reminders, this is, I think we're just kind of reiterating what we did in the basic case. Just to watch or listen, you can go to WebEx or YouTube. You can listen via phone. The recording is available the next day on our website and on YouTube. How to sign up to participate, you just fill out the form on our website, and I think we're going to be able to show you that, do a quick run through our website today. If you want to sign up with staff, you can do that. We've got the Zoning Commission through by phone, that would be with Ella and BZA. I believe that's Robert Reed's number. And for the virtual hearing process, that's located in subtitles Y and Z, sections 103.13. You sign up in advance to testify. No live video during the testimony. All submissions except for the official ANC reports must be submitted at least 24 hours in advance of the hearing. You can make a request to reopen the record if you're having technical difficulties, and you would have to ask the board or commission to approve that. So important OZ links. Interactive Zoning Information System, also referred to as ISIS, the good ISIS, not the one overseas causing havoc, but you can search for cases, and that's going to be this picture up here if you want to just search for cases. If you want to actually file or upload documents in a case, so if you're going to initiate a case or file cases, that's going to be this picture here. Okay. The official zoning map, that's this link here. So again, you can just get to it from our website. It has a wealth of information. If you've not visited our website, it really does have a lot of information there. And again, I'll try to go through that quickly today. This is our website, our official website. This is what the homepage looks like. Questions, this is our last page here. Myself, Cliff is the BZA secretary. I think you probably have better luck contacting Kira. Z Hill, she's our ANC liaison. And I think that is the end of our presentation. I would ask Gail if we could go to our website and do a quick view of that, if possible. Gail, are you okay with that?
Yeah, if folks can stay on, we could do that. What I want to do actually, Sharon, before we go, for folks that want to stay on for the website, but can we just open up for some questions in case folks have to
Sure.
leave? Is that okay? So
Sure.
as we
I'll
always
leave it
do
on
with
this page.
these, yeah, and then we'll do that. So for the commissioners that are currently still on, I know we started late and I apologize for that. If you have any questions for either Sharon or Kira, if you want to ask them now, just raise your hand, use a little emoji, and we'll open that up for questions. We'll take those till about, depending on how many questions we have, till maybe about 11:15, and then we can show how to use the interactive. If no one has any questions, we can go right to the interactive, but I wanted to afford folks the opportunity to ask anything. So
Yeah.
go ahead
And
and
I
raise your
apologize
hand.
again.
No, it's okay. It's okay. That's why it's technology. Okay, well, I don't see any hands. So let's go to the interactive then. You can pull up IZIS if you want.
Okay. Okay. Kira, did you want to do this or you want me to go ahead and go?
Oh,
Are
you
you
can do
okay
it.
with me proceeding?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So I'm going to go to our website. So when you go to our website, this is what the page looks like. I'm going to shut this door because I'm at my daughter's house and it's like a zoo here. She has the dogs here and I hear the birds in the background. I'm afraid and even though they're upstairs, they're pretty loud. So this is the home page of our website when you go here, and you'll see anything that's new, news or important. You'll see it scrolling here, or you can just, click on next. Oh, wait a second. I guess you guys, I have to share that. You can't see that, can you?
Yeah, no, you have to share.
Thanks. I got to hit share again. Let's see, do I have to hit stop there? And then I've got to get share again. There we go. Can you see it now?
Not there. It should probably just taken a second. There you go.
Okay, so now you can see it. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is our home screen, and as you see, these are scrolling across, and that's where we put anything new that we have going on or important information that we have. And this here is determine which agency you need for zoning matters. Is it us? Because I can tell you, we probably 90% of the phone calls we get are really meant for the zoning administrator. And this is talking about the Zoning Commission racial equity analysis tool that we have. in effect now. And you can hit previous or next and go through all of them. So that's that. Up at the top here, services, zoning commission, BZA, the regulations. Very quickly, let me show you the regulations. This is great for anybody who hasn't seen our regulations, our online interactive regulations. This is what it looks like. You just click here for the zoning regs, and you have all of the subtitles listed here, all 16 of them, and you can just, like, if you want to go to, let me just pick BZA, since it seems like that's where a lot of people go. So you can look at it over here and just go, you've got the whole subtitle Y over here, or if you know you want to go to the pre-hearing section, subtitle 4, chapter 4, you can just click on the plus sign and see where you want to go, and maybe you want to see what's going on with expedited review. You can just click on chapter 4 for expedited review, and you've got the whole section of expedited review, but maybe you already know you need 401.5, so you can just click on 401.5, and that's all you get. So you can go from very large to very small, so that you just have the one section there. So I think that's kind of nice that you can go from having the whole subtitle to a chapter to just a section. You see how broken down that can be. So that's kind of cool there. If I go back to the other thing, resources, the zoning handbook, that's recently been updated. And this is kind of, I used to love those books like Word Perfect for Dummies, or actually I don't think anybody uses Word Perfect anymore, Word for Dummies or Excel for Dummies. So now we have, this is kind of like the zoning handbook, which is, I always think of it as the zoning for dummies kind of thing. It kind of breaks down the regulations for everyone. So we've got the residential zones, the mixed use, and if you just click on one of them, let's just pick the mixed use, and you've got the neighborhood mixed use and the regular mixed use. If we just go to the MU zones, it kind of tells you what the MU zones are, but then you can go down here and you know what you're looking for is in the MU14. It'll take you straight to the MU14, and then if you click here, it'll give you what the MU14 standards are, development standards are, the height, the lot occupancy, that information right here. It'll tell you the FAR is 6.0, the height 90 feet, lot occupancy 75%. So it's really good information for you to have in there. So then if we go back, let me just get back to our homepage. So anyway, you've got the resources in here, the weekly zoning case report. This information here tells you, I believe it's which cases have been filed, new cases that have been filed this week. And then of course you've got your search, your video on demand are cases that have been heard. You can look those up. So going back to our homepage, I just scrolled down a little bit. This is where you're going to sign up to testify. I want to show you this so that you can see that. So if you click on sign up to testify, this is just a little survey. I'll leave that for you to look at. It tells you the person to contact if you need to for the BZA and Zoning Commission. But you select the type of case you want to testify in, let's say BZA, select the event, so you find the date you want to testify on, and then you pick the case. And then you just fill in your name and your testimony type. Are you in opposition, support, or undeclared? and your affiliation. If you're just a public witness, party, i.e. the ANC, this is what you're going to click on, other party, ANC. And then once you do that, this is where you're taking the oath. Since we're no longer in the office and ask you to raise your right hand, this is where you're going to take the oath. You click I do and then submit, and we have you registered to testify. So very easy to register to testify in a case now. It's just online instead of in the, let me try to get this out of my way. So let's go back to the home page. Oops, that's not where I want to go. And if we, if you scroll down a little bit, still scrolling down, this is your live BZA and Zoning Commission hearings. When you click on that, say on a day of hearing, you didn't register, you just want to watch, this is where you go to. And when you scroll down, like this week, the Zoning Commission doesn't have a hearing. Wait a second, it's saying we do. Oh, I guess I do. I was thinking I was free this week. I'm not. I have a meeting on Thursday. So this is going to, this here says join the WebEx meeting. This is for Wednesday. You click here. If you want to just call in and listen on your phone, this is where you do that, and you can watch it YouTube live here. For Zoning Commission, you can click here to join in and just watch it. And YouTube, same way, this is the call in and the access code. And so it's very simple if you just want to call in and watch. If you want to register to testify, you need to, like I said, sign up to testify. Going back to the home page, this is the ISIS logon that we talked about. So you just click here, and this is where you're going to get those two icons that we showed you, or pictures we showed you. So if you want to go here to review a case, here, can you give me a case number for a BZA? BZA case number, Kira?
Sure. To do 20869 coming up this week.
20869, okay. So once you put the case number in and you click on search, what happens is down below in your search return, this will come up. If we were to just put 208, everything that started with 208 would show up. But on the right, you see your magnifying glass under view. You click on that. This is where you get your case record to come back. Up here is going to give you, again, the number, the applicant name, a little summary about the case, the address, which ANC, and of course, SMD. The relief they're asking for, special exception is the type, and this is telling you a future hearing date, 4/26. This is the property information section, case documents, and this is where in the basics I said if you click on view full log, you get all of the exhibits in the case, and I'll put that in a second, but I want to show you the rest of this. Because this case is still active, there's no orders listed under here. And there's no transcripts because the hearing hasn't happened yet. Contact information for OP and DCOZ. And if there were any videos, again, the video isn't there because the hearing hasn't happened, but this is where it would occur. So if we click on view full log, what happens is you get all of the exhibits. And here it's saying 1 to 20 of 28 exhibits. That throws some people off because they're like, how are there 28 exhibits? It's showing 1 to 20, and there's only 19 here. Well, that's because you've got a 1A and a 1B, so that makes 20. And when you go here, it says 28. Well, we just figured out we had a 1A and a 1B. So that's your case record if you're just searching for a case. let me go back to home. Oh, that just takes me back there. And if we go to file and manage and submit cases, I've got a login name, not a robot. Okay, so this is your dashboard. Once you file a case, it'll all be listed here. You can actually put cases here that you just want to watch, but you've got your manager profile, it's where you would change your password, but file a new BZA or zoning commission case, file a form, file documents in an existing case, file an agency report. This is where, let's see, do they have a separate one for the ANC? I don't see it, but let's just say, okay, so I just picked a case, selected it, and then I can select an ANC report that's listed here. And then once I choose my file, has to be a PUD case, you choose upload, and after you, it gives you kind of a second chance to make sure that's truly what you want to file. If you say, oh my goodness, I picked the wrong document, you can click remove, go back, choose the correct file, and after you choose upload again, if that's truly the one you want to do, and of course I don't, you would hit submit and it would upload. You'll get an email saying you uploaded a document in this case. If you don't get that email, something may have gone wrong and you want to look in the record and see if it got uploaded or not, okay? So that's just a quick and easy, submit comments in a record. If you do this, so this is the case you want to do, you can actually just type your comments right here. So you don't have to do an attachment or anything. You can just submit your comments right here. Obviously for the ANC, it needs to be signed. So this is not where you would submit your ANC report. I'm just showing you this as an individual. You may have a case that you want to submit comments in personally. Okay, let's go back. I don't want to look at my email. Go back to our website. Then scrolling down our BZA calendar, it's a joint calendar. If you go to our calendar, you can see everything that's listed. And I believe you can look at this, I thought in a month view, but maybe not. But anyway, when you click on the date, the actual day, you can see which cases are there. If you actually click on one of the cases, it takes you to the case report. So it's all related. When you go to the calendar, you find the case that's there. If you click on the case, if it's, highlighted in a certain color, you go back, in this blue, then it'll take you to the case report. So they're all kind of connected, ISIS and the calendar. If we, now the map, if you haven't used our map, it's, like I said, it's very good. Go to our map. If I just put in our address, 441 4th Street Northwest, over on the left, it's going to tell me if I didn't know what the square and lot was, it's telling me that it was square 532 lot 20. This is it right here, okay? And it tells me the actual address, the owner name, the owner's address, and it gives me a little picture of it. It tells me what zone it's in, And then it's going to tell me, was there a plan unit development involved? And it tells me there was back in 97. And I could click on that and find out about the PUD. And then I can scroll down and find out, were there any cases for this lot? And it's telling me that there were cases for this specific lot. Here's the zoning commission cases. And there must be more because it's saying show all. And then there were some BZA cases. Okay, and then what cases for this square? So any cases for the square are also listed. And then if you scroll down further, you get ward information. So it's in Ward 6, council member is Charles Allen, the ANC is 6E, SMD 6E08, and they've got some building permit and licenses. This information comes from DCRA. We don't populate that information, just like the ANC information comes from, I think Octo is the one who actually uploads that information. But we can also click on this little box here. This is the Earth view. You can click on that and get a different view. We can zone in and get a little better view of, you know, what's around there. And you can, you know, of course you're looking at the roofs, but you get that view. Then you can go back to the map view. And the other thing that I want to show you is the buffer. If we go up, back up to the top, we can click here and we can do a buffer of, say, a lot of people want to know who's around in 200 feet, and we can click 200 feet. Give me a buffer of this square and lot, 200 feet. And then I can figure out, what do I want to know? Well, I want to know the SMD within 200 feet. And then I click search, and it tells me the only SMD within 200 feet of that property is 6E08. And if I want to see if there's anything closer, if I click over here under layers and scroll down and turn on the SMD, I have to find it. My eyes are working today. Single member district. If I turn that on and then hit layers again, now I can see that 6E08, let me zoom in there a little bit more so y'all can see better. 6E08 does seem to be the only thing in this area. The closest one is going to be over here to CO3. This is all 6E08, and all the way over here is 6E07. So there are no other ANCs. And also, the reason why I do SMD, because then I can also see if there's another ANC within 200 feet that may be an affected ANC directly across the street. In this case, it's not. Also, while you're in your map area, if you know that your property, if you know an address of, say, your property, you're not sure about the property, you really want to know about this property over here, if you find your property, then you can click on another property close by. Let me get back to the full report. Okay, let's go back to my info and click back on this lot here. It's still doing the search. Go back. Whoops, sorry. Get back to my search. Okay, if I want to really know about this property, oh, I forgot it. You can also do a search. I don't want to do search right now. Okay, so stop it. But we've got our property here that I really want to know about. I don't know why this is staying on, but this is the property I really want to know about. If I click on it, I can find out now that that square, get down, Goose, 531 lot 36, get down. Lot 36, and this is the property I really wanted to know about, and I could see the address of it, who it's owned by, so you can get that information right there. You can also look up PUDs. If you know, click here for PUD, and you know what the PUD number was, 2027 High Street. That was the case number, 2027. It'll then highlight the PUD for you, and then over here, it'll tell you the information on the PUD. And if you click show lots, it'll then list the lots for you. Kira, is there anything else on the website, or if anybody has something on the website they'd like to see that I didn't show?
I think that was a very good
I know
overview.
it was fast, but yeah.
No, that's okay, Sharon. Let's, we'll just see if there's any questions from the audience. And if not, I don't see anything. So if you just want to put up, if you don't mind, just I think you've closed out your presentation, but so if they need to reach the zoning office or BZA again, those emails would be
Sure. I can put that back up very quickly.
Perfect. Just put that up for the last minute. And well, we thank everyone for attending today. Excellent. So there are contact information for Sharon, Kira, Ms. Hill, and Mr. Moy. So unless we see any other questions, which I don't, I just want to thank everybody for today and appreciate all of the valuable information. And thank you, Sharon, for taking us through the website. I think for those who have navigated with it, the DCOZ website is very comprehensive. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of information in there, and it's worth playing around with, you know, one day when you have nothing to do, just to
Yeah.
kind of see all the good stuff that's there. But thank you for taking us through it. For my ANC colleagues, thank you for joining us today. And if any of your folks have not had an opportunity to take this, I did announce after tonight's presentation, Kira or Sharon will send us the slide deck. We'll put that up on anc.dc.gov under the About ANCs in our training resources. And then once we clear up the transcription page, we will upload it to our YouTube channel. I put the YouTube channel earlier, the link in the chat. So hopefully everyone got an opportunity to see that. So without further ado, I want to just thank everyone and wish everyone a great day. Enjoy the weather. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And I'll see you tonight, Kira and Sharon.
Great.
Yes.